with administration so we understand what your questions are, and then we try our best, even if we don't know on the call, to get them answered in short order. I want to update you on just a couple of things, and I want to see what questions you have. First of all, thank you all. I know that it was a tough slog to get your test done before moving into the residence halls. I know there was a lot of places around the country where it was difficult to get the test, but at this point, folks have been able to do that. And so it allows us to have a baseline for the campus to understand what your status is, and then we can start our surveillance testing in short order. And we will start that surveillance testing. The plan was to start it next week, but we'll start it on February I believe that date is the 1st, which I think is that Monday. Let me double check that. Yes, February the 1st. Okay, and so what you will receive is an email from the COVID-19 task force that'll say, hey, this is your week to get tested. And then you will be asked to come into the student health system at a student health office at a particular time, and you will come in, get tested, and then we will have a sense of who needs to get tested next, and so on and so forth. But really excited to be able to kind of try to stay ahead of this virus. The next thing I wanted to mention was having to do with vaccines. Some of you all have asked about vaccines and kind of what our plan is. Right now, we're starting to partner with local entities such as LSU Health downtown, the different medical schools and public health areas in New Orleans, such as Tulane. They have an initiative where folks will be able to get the vaccine. And as the vaccine becomes more and more available, we will offer that vaccine for students so that you all will be able to get vaccinated if that in fact is your desire. At this point, there's no plan to sort of quote unquote make people get the vaccine, but we're strongly suggesting it. If you have the bandwidth and you really would like to sort of do your part to stay ahead of this virus, we're suggesting that people do go ahead and get the vaccine so that we can again just sort of curb what has become a really a terrible set of circumstances as it relates to more than 400,000 deaths that we've had here in the United States. And so as we get those vaccines and folks talk to us about partnerships that we can have, we will share those with the student body. As you can imagine, we have a lot of older faculty and staff on campus. And as you know from the categories, those older faculty and staff are permitted to go now and get the vaccine. Also, our frontline public health, nursing folks who are working in hospitals, they're being permitted to receive the vaccine as well, as well as some of our other frontline folks. And that is per the CDC guidelines. And as you know, it works sort of through 4 or 5 categories. And at some point, it'll be available to the entire country. And we now that we have a new administration in place, I expect that things will start to move along with a little more pace versus the administration that left the White House in shame on this past Wednesday. Okay, any questions about vaccines or anything like that? All right. Some of you all have asked about sort of what happens during this time frame while we're on this online piece. If you all remember last spring when we went to online and virtual learning, we essentially had students have the ability to reach out to offices and still access services and that kind of thing. We're in that mode right now, at least for the next week or two. What we're hoping is, and I saw a report that went out today that said the New Orleans numbers are really starting to table. which is a good thing. We really want those numbers to table and then start to decrease. And as that continues to happen, then it will bode well for the type of interaction we'll be able to have here on our own campus. And so during this time frame, expect to do 99% of what you're doing virtually, whether it's interactions with offices. If you really do need to go into an office and interact with folks, those folks will be there. But you may find that folks have some level of virtual protocol that they'd like you to adhere to. Again, because we do have faculty and staff who are just like you, are trying to be cognizant of health and all of that kind of thing. So please do observe that and be as flexible as you can. I know that, the expectation is that when you go into an office, you'll be able to interact with folks and sort of quickly get to folks. But during this time frame, folks are really trying to do the best they can to try all the other things that come along with the pandemic, such as childcare and going to the doctors and trying to get vaccinated, and all of those pieces are pieces that all of faculty and staff, everybody is managing at this time. So just be as flexible as you can. If you cannot get to somebody, please do utilize the contact list. And at worst case scenario, cannot speak to anybody, email me, email Dr. Courtney and say, look, I'm trying to reach this person, can't get them, help me. Let's do that. Let's agree that that's the way we're gonna kind of proceed so that we can get you the help that you need. But if somebody is not being responsive, count it all to them just trying to do other things that sort of mean that they are as a real person trying to navigate the pandemic. So please know that. Okay. Any questions around campus services or anything like that?
We do have a question, one for you and one for me. The one for you right now is, will we be able to receive CARES Act money from the CARES Act that just passed?
So we don't know enough yet about the current CARES Act money. We'll get more guidance about that in the next couple of days. But if the answer is, and I don't know your particular financial situation, but the answer is yes. Typically with like it was in the fall, there's specific parameters for students. And to be clear, there's specific pockets of money that Dillard can't even, the way that they kind of slice it up, that we can't even use for our personal expenses. It's money that has to go out to students. So while I have you on the phone, I was just talking to Mr. Page the other day, and he was mentioning that they still had some funds that were available around things like technology and pieces like that. So if you are a person who is at home and you're still trying to, be able to access your classes through a laptop or hotspot or those kinds of things, I would send an email to Mr. Dr. Courtney, what is it? Enrollment management.
Mm-hmm.
Enrollment management, one word, at dillard.edu, and let them know, because I do know that there's some funds in there in case you still need to secure technology to try to access your classes. If you don't feel like you're getting what you need, I would do that just to make sure that you are 100% connected in and don't have any issues around that. But the answer to your question is yes, students should be able to get those funds, but we have not, Dillard hasn't gotten the funds yet, and we do not have the guidance from the federal government. And I'm sure part of it is just we're getting a new Secretary of Education, and they just, I don't even know if they're confirmed yet. I don't think they've even confirmed all of the cabinet positions yet. So while that's happening, we're all in flux right now. But it is my hope that they will get all of those positions solidified quickly so that those funds can kind of roll down quickly.
Great, thank you, Dr. Bullard. The next question, can organizations hand out goodie bags, treat bags to members, or will everything have to be strictly virtual? We're going to be strictly virtual right now. So, as you all know, our main reason for being here on campus is to go to class. So, if we're not going to class, then we're also not doing anything like that. And it's also out of an abundance of caution. So, we know we get excited when we see each other. I know I get excited when I see folks. So, if I saw people kind of handing out things, that could actually create a crowd of people. And so, we're wanting to avoid that for right now. So, like Dr. Buller said, we're going to continue to be virtual for sure through this next week. Probably before the end of next week, we'll have another update for you. So, as we said in the Campus Life update, as the phases update and as things change, then we will modify kind of our restrictions that we have for campus organizations and things like that. So, right now, you can absolutely be virtual. If y'all need some assistance with that, if you need like a Zoom or Netflix party, Hulu, all that kind of stuff, we do have that. So we can assist you with that. But please hang on with us and be virtual for the next week at least. And then we'll get an update to you by the end of next week. Any questions? Any other questions out there? All right, yep, got another one. Graduation in May. If Mayor Cantrell can have an in-person King Day celebration, Taylor should be able to have a graduation with mask. I hear you. I hear exactly what you're saying. We at the university don't write the restrictions. We have to kind of go with what the government and what the city says. I am not sure that she did actually an in-person King Day celebration. A lot of the pictures and things that you saw on Instagram and all that were actually from last year's celebration. Don't quote me on that, but that's likely what happened because that was a day that we had very high numbers, I recall. Of COVID-19. So I don't believe that the city did anything. But we're hoping that if everyone wears their mask, as more people get vaccines, as people do what they need to do, that the number of people impacted by the virus will go down and that we will be able to have an in-person graduation in May. So we just all have to continue to do our part. All right, any other questions? We'll give you about another minute or two. Dr. Bowles, you got any final words before we wrap up?
Well, what I wanted to tell people was, and we were hoping that we could get Dr. Hebert on, and we'll get him to do a Zoom. Some of you all may have seen on the news in the last week or two around the variant. There's a variant to the current virus, and I was talking to Dr. Hebert about it, and he was saying that this particular virus is not more deadly, but it's more contagious. So meaning that, whereas before, and the example he gives is, whereas before you'd have to kind of touch hands and kind of rub you on your face and do all this kind of thing, and it would, take a bit to kind of get the virus. Now he's saying that literally you could touch an object and it could get on your hands and it could pass just that quickly. And so that says to me that everybody is just a lot more contagious, that we can move this thing around. And I just saw the other day where that variant was confirmed in Louisiana. So it's here, it's in the state, and so we have to be nervous about it. So to that end, sometimes I'm walking across campus and I see you all, and you all are heading down to Walmart, or you're heading down to Cane's or something like that. Everybody's in the car together. Everybody's kind of, once you get in the car, like nobody's looking. I'm gonna pop my mask off and we're gonna laugh, we're gonna have a good time, or whatever the case is. Folks, that is something that will cause folks to be infected if we do that kind of thing. We have to be in a situation where we say to ourselves, even for those people that we know really well, and these are our friends, these are folks that we hang out with all the time, as in this population that from 18 to 24, that group we're not seeing a whole lot of deaths from that group. I think in the last 6 months, there's only been maybe 2 deaths total in that in that demographic for this area. So it's not like that happens for this group. We're not seeing a lot of deaths from this group. What we are seeing though is that the young people are carriers. So you will carry the virus to different folks and kind of pass it along. And you end up with this this outbreak in this tiny little space. And that's a problem when we're trying to stay open and we're trying to be in person, we're trying to have graduation. That's when it's a problem. So if in March we end up with 75 or 100 people on campus that are infected because we have one of those outbreaks, we're not having graduation at Dillard. Okay, it literally is that serious. So we need folks to say to themselves, let's just, for this period of time, especially while we're trying to get folks vaccinated, we're trying to make it to graduation, overdo it, okay? Get on your mask. I don't care if nobody's around and just get your mask on, wash your hands. If you walk up on one of our machines that we have for the hand sanitizer, there's nothing in there, send somebody an email, say, hey, y'all need to they all are numbered. Please fill up number 23. There's not any hand sanitizer in it. We got to overdo it for this period of time. If we don't, we're just not gonna be able to get back to any sense of normalcy. I know I mentioned earlier about the vaccine, but I just want to say this one more time. If you have the ability to get vaccinated, please do it. I know people are leery about it, but I've personally done research. I've seen they had a contingent of African-American doctors that did a review of the current trials and stages from HBCUs, Meharry, Morehouse Medicine. So I trust Black doctors. I trust what they're doing. I know the history of all of the stigma behind vaccinations and all of those kinds of things. And so I had to do my own research to find out. Nobody's making you do it, but I'm suggesting that you give some thought to getting vaccinated. I'm going to probably get vaccinated next week because I'm old, and so I'll do that. But if you have the ability in the coming months, and I think you will, again with this new administration, I think they'll start trying to move these vaccines along. It's the only way we're going to be able to guarantee. Imagine if we had 60 or 70% of our campus vaccinated. Okay, it would provide just a really airtight space, and you wouldn't have these vaccines. You wouldn't have the issue of contagion for our campus because we'd have a lot of folks on campus that were vaccinated. And until we're in that space where we're vaccinated, we're kind of going to always be in this space of, and I won't use the word fear, but we're being in a space of where we're concerned about folks being, catching the virus. And so it's up to us. That's just really the bottom line. And so you don't have to make that decision today, but at least think about it. Just at least think about it and do the research. Get on the CDC website. Again, we have a new CDC person that'll be coming in. So the information that we see on those sites and that we get from the campus, from those entities, we will have some confidence in it. Dr. Fauci's going to be, he's going to be in control again. He'll be able to say whatever he wants to say. So it's going to be good as it relates to that. Last thing I'll say is folks send an email to ask about the 10 days versus the 14 days. That's something that came out from the CDC. And they gave it as a suggestion that we do the 10 days. And they were doing that to get people to kind of not be concerned about reporting. Dillard is not adopting that 10-day conversation, okay? They are sticking with the 14-day. And so if you are required to quarantine, you will have to quarantine for those 14 days. And the 14 days essentially start on the day that you start experiencing symptoms. And so if it's, January the 17th, and you started experiencing symptoms on the 6th, then you now have, that means you've got 11 more days of 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 um, of what's the word I'm looking for?
Quarantine.
Isolation, or
Mhm.
and then at that point you'll have to provide a negative test to the student health services, and you can test this, or you can test out in the community someplace. But the Office of Student Health, they have plenty of tests, and they will be able to test you if you have symptoms or those kinds of things. Okay, so that's there and that's available. Other questions?
Great. We got a few more questions I'll answer quickly. One, do students get a refund for graduation fees that were paid if there is no graduation in May? Yes, but also you probably have not paid that yet. So before all of that stuff happens, there's always a meeting with all of the seniors and the senior class president and Mr. Mitchell and Dr. Page. That has not happened yet. So you likely have not paid that yet. But during that meeting, they will discuss with you what happens, the breakdown of the fees, and all that great stuff. So again, be looking forward for an email from them kind of once we're out of this phase one. Second question, will Greek Life have anything for people that are interested in joining? So if you're asking if organizations will be doing programs and things like that, yes, they will. We will probably do another Meet the Greeks this semester. So there will be an opportunity to learn about the organizations and all of that good stuff. So be looking for an email that'll come from this office with the additional information about that. Right now, Dr. Bullard and I are talking to the advisors and the chapters and doing our updates. So after that, you'll start to see more events from them. And that's the best way to, again, get to know them and learn about the organizations. The next question, will classes like basketball, swimming, tennis happen if we are social distancing? So Dr. Smith and the physical education department have been working on a plan for that. So right now, to my knowledge, yes, they will be happening, but they will happen in a social distance manner. So you really have to kind of get to the first day of class to learn about it and to hear from the instructor about how they will work. Anything that would require too much of people kind of interacting with each other, they did take off of the schedule, but they will follow similar protocols to what we do with like our campus recreation. So we are permitted to do those. We just have to be safe with that. These were great questions, you all. I don't see any other questions in the chat box. If you do have questions, feel free to send them to Dr. Bullards. If it's specifically about COVID-19, send that to covid19@dillard.edu. General questions, you can send the DU student engagement at dillard.edu. I'm sorry, DU student success at dillard.edu. And then questions about just campus life in general, you can send those to student engagement at dillard.edu, or feel free to email either one of us. As always, we enjoy spending a little time on Friday with you. So we're looking forward to this. We're going to bring in more guests this semester. We love y'all, but a couple of people hit me up and they're like, why can I never get on Zoom? So we're going to let some other people join us in the hosting seat over the next few weeks. If there are people that you specifically want to see, let us know and we will get them here. We hope y'all have an amazing weekend and we'll see you next week.